much more difficult to solve.
But some of the greediness, like the level of lobbying in America, and with lobbyists literally submitting bills and forgetting to take the lobby firm's heading off the paper as they go to Senate, there's an aspect of that. But the other way that I look at that is to go, how badly did we fail as capitalists? And that's me, right?
Yeah.
How badly did we fail that enough people went and picked up this shiny object called socialism, or democratic socialism, which is different from socialism, and think that that's a good idea?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's the reverse of the question the Democrats should be asking themselves. So the Democrats should be asking themselves, well, how did Trump become so attractive? What did we do wrong? And the right-wingers, the more conservative types, should be asking, we haven't solved the problem of wealth distribution well enough to stop socialism from being attractive as an option, even though the historical record with regards to its more radical forms is dreadful.
And we've also failed to embody the core values of free market capitalism, innovation, competition, where we have not pulled the ladder up behind us, where we have allowed and built a robust system of smart capitalism all the way down that is a solid foundational base that we can stand on to win. It's so
goddamn difficult. It's so goddamn difficult though. Like, look, let me give you an example. So I started a company 20 years ago, and it struggled along for a long time. And then when I got better known, that solved our marketing problem. But it's a psychological testing company. And when we first designed it, we consciously designed a company that would require no employees, that would have no overhead, and that would be replicable. So it was computerized, and so it can scale without an increase in cost. And like, I'm sensitive to the problems caused by the Pareto distribution, but when I set up that company, I set it up in a way that absolutely contributed to it, because we don't pay no one in this company gets paid except the 3 people that own it. That's it. And that's part of the inexorability. I can't say that damn word. Inexorability. I just did the audio version of my book, and I had to redo all the times I said inexorable because I said it wrong. Anyways, it's the inexorability of the Pareto distribution is very difficult to escape from. It'd be lovely if we could have a discussion politically where that problem became central and everyone's attention could be focused on that. The capitalists, who we could admire, at least in some guises, could sit down and say, look, we have to figure out how to get more money to the bottom part of the population within a structure that can also generate wealth, because of course capitalism does that extremely well. So that problem has to be brought to the forefront.
The thing is, the further I got into this, Jordan, the more that I realized that everything foundationally is moral. That's it. You said once to me, and I think like shortly after college, you said there's only moral decisions. That's it. I was like, that's so weird though, because sometimes there's pragmatic, sometimes there's something. And the more you look at that, the more it's borne out that in fact, like any shortcut you pay for, any shortcut pushes. I mean, look, we don't have to get all into Jungian synchronicity, but you know that drill. And so one of the things that I think about a lot is that we can argue as if we're sitting around in college, right, drinking, and there's a libertarian and there's a conservative and there's a liberal, or a Democrat, conservative and liberal, let's say. And we all know what we're going to say already. Nothing that is pure ideologically will ever work or function. And the only answer to it, like for me, part of what I realized was I'm going to be arrogant enough to try to go on an adventure that tries to tell stories, not re-message the Democrats that I'm lying and repackaging and putting pig on a lipstick, that I can make an argument for classic.
I think you meant lipstick on a pig.
What did I say?
You said pig on a lipstick, which gets the ratio of pig to lipstick seriously wrong. That should appeal to the Trump viewers of this broadcast.
That's horrible. That's horrible. But it's not about, it can't be about deception, right? It has to be about making actual arguments for why the core liberal values that I believe are most imperfectly but approximately embodied by the Democrats can have appeal to conservatives, right? And we've talked all that big.
So hopefully you also tilt the Democrats in that direction, like by producing that message, right? It gives them, it gives them a center around which to align. Absolutely a necessary thing. You need that center.
But here's the complexity that I realize is we didn't make any money at all. We said everything is pro bono. And we didn't have any credit, and we wouldn't have done any of this. Like the no permission part is like, here we went off and did it. But there's a ton of money to be made in advertising. I mean, I sent you that article, right? There's an estimate that we created, and it could very well be off or overblown, but there's an estimate that the ad structures that we put in place created $1 billion of advertising. We aimed it at the swing states. We aimed it at evangelicals. We aimed it at the Hispanic communities and the places that really mattered a lot. That's a lot of value, even if it's off by 50%. And the thing is part of how we got there was people, when they do an ad buy with a commercial, they make money on the ad buy, right? And so part of it was we'd go off, we'd make some commercial, we'd test it, we'd make sure that it was honest. It would be saying something that's slightly different, but the cost of having our message conveyed in a way that might hope to be transformational was for us to give it to them and say, here, say that you did it. And if there's any sales or anything to do with it, you go make a bunch of money off it and just say it was you. And so that's the price of it. Because if we said, well, we want to be cut in on the revenue streams, then they'd have a bunch of reasons to choose their own creative over our creative, right?
Right. So what you did by taking yourself out of the fee structure, you enabled your voice.
That's right. And we allowed for other people. It's like, you don't get to have all these things, right? We don't get to have all the credit and make a ton of money and also be adored by the Democratic establishment and then also be transformative. And so I'm not saying that like it's any great shakes morally, but that was the part of me that was like, the solution is in the doing. The solution is in when I realized the airline buyout thing, that I was an inadvertent recipient of that in a way that's kind of rigged. That's kind of a rigged game. When there's a buyout and there's a stock buyout and I just make more money despite them being in failure, is to do stuff and to try and do stuff properly. And so I think that a lot of it is we have such a failure of moral leadership right now in corporations. I mean, I was thinking back to like, would it be amazing if we looked up to, more leaders of industry and more we're so removed from our paragons, from our avatars of meaning, I guess is what I mean to say. Like the fact